Everybody has something that they'd like to get better at. In this clip from a full-length interview, Dr. Kristina Driskill, performance anxiety expert, talks about what it looks like to get better at anything and effective ways to form new habits.
You have to train your brain to have a thought process that comes to the forefront. Remember that, one of the reasons habits are hard to break is because when you learn a new habit or you learn new information, the body does what it knows best, not what it knows most recently, especially when you get into a higher pressure situation. Mm-hmm. So when you learn something new and then you go out and, stand up in front of somebody or go to a lesson or go to a performance or audition or whatever like that, and it doesn't happen, and then people get all upset. Well, that's because your body's going back to what it knows best. It's trying to hang on to that safety mechanism of go with what you know. Nobody goes into an audition and says, let's try that one thing we tried that's brand new that we don't know if it's going to work or not. Like, you just don't do that.
Except when you do and it never turns out well.
Well, from a survival, perspective, that seems like a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Right. And plus, it hasn't had the time to be ingrained in the body, and so
right.
that's why it happens sometimes. But if you are not practicing creating that new neural pathway, meaning that new piece of information or idea that you're sending to the body to tell it what to do, if you're not practicing that thoughtfully over and over again, then it's really hard to replace an old habit. Mm-hmm. You'll just revert to the other stuff. And this is in any area of life. This goes to, like communicating with other people. This goes to, making eye contact. It goes to, how you think about things before you take a test. I mean, it applies to everything, not just, music and practicing and performance. It really applies to everything. It's something that has to be practiced. And it's something that we have to keep in mind, that there is a level of self-compassion that's necessary while learning new things, while putting new processes into place. This is especially important for smart people. Smart people will tend to hear a concept, get an idea, and then just to assume that they should automatically assimilate it just like that. And when they don't, then they beat themselves up, give themselves a hard time. What's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? That kind of stuff.
I got so many comments from people who were like, I have this thing where if I'm not instantly great at something, I hate myself.
Right. There's many, many reasons for that. We are, especially with your age and younger, you guys all grew up with, instant connection to information. You wanted it. It came right back at you, with technology. And so there's that assumption that, you ask, you get, and people had trouble with that with discipline sometimes because like they're so used to asking and then just getting in return that when they ask for someone says you have to wait, it feels uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I don't want to wait. It's that feeling. And we get very impatient, and the same thing happens with ourselves, right? Especially if you're used to being able to do something right away, then all of a sudden when you can't, it's like that again, that you're somehow less than, that you're somehow mediocre or incapable or stupid or, and none of that's true. Of course, what you have to realize is that you have figured it out. You understand the path of execution for it, but you are in a human, and the human may take a little bit longer to be able to coordinate that information that you're giving it. The example I always give to people are things like, I think about like twirling a baton, looks easy, seems kind of simple. You sit there and twirl between your fingers. But if you've ever tried to do that and then thought, I know what I'm doing, and then started to like pick up the pace, you've hit yourself in the face with that thing and it hurts. You realize real fast that there's a little bit more to baton twirling than just flicking it around between your fingers.
Yeah.
And it'll smack you in the face, and it's the same thing with everything else. You've got to have patience in the process, and kind of learn to delight in that and delight in the human's ability to need more time sometimes, rather than feeling like you're somehow failing or less than, if you can't get it right away. It's okay.
I messed up. I cracked. Silly body. That's okay.
Exactly. I'm like, No, what caused that? Like, what was I doing,
Yeah.
that made that happen? Because
We're
if you
human.
think about it, if your voice cracks or something, and then you're like, idiot, what's wrong with you? You're such a failure. And then you're like, let's try again. Your body's going to be like, oh, I'll try again. Like, no, I ain't going in there, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I want to try again when you just told me I was a horrible person when I tried a minute ago?
We abuse ourselves, really.
Yeah.
And then we try to keep putting ourselves back in the ring with our
it's a major recipe for self-hatred.
Yeah.
For self-loathing. And there's no reason for it.
Right.
There's absolutely no reason for it. Like I said, that is tied directly into that unrealistic expectation of consistent instant gratification.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So if we can be a little bit more patient with ourselves and compassionate with ourselves and process, we can actually, and this is how I get my smart people and my perfectionists over this. So realize that if you will do those two things, you'll actually get better faster. So it's up to you. You can either beat yourself up and insist on being perfect and get better really slowly, or you can have self-compassion and you can go toward exploration of the process and realize that mistakes are just information, and you can get better exponentially faster. Up to you. You can take whichever path that you want to. In one of them, you'll be right more times than not, but it will be painstakingly slow.
Yeah.
So you decide. What's your time worth to you?
To produce when you're right, like that process is going to be so much slow. Right. You're
incredibly slow. Incredibly slow.
Yeah.
With over 20 years of performance experience and research, Dr. Kristina Driskill is an expert on performance anxiety and how the brain works. She holds a Doctor of Musical Arts degree as well as certifications in social emotional arts, business coaching, and money mindset. She's a published author and has built a successful coaching and consulting practice, helping others identify and work through fear-based thoughts and habits. If you want to know more about her, you can check out the description below for more information, as well as links to her website and social media.